This podcast was recorded during the WGA and SAG-AFTRA strikes. Without the labor of the writers and actors currently on strike, Wonka and a lot of the other things we cover on this podcast wouldn't exist.
Do you hear soft jazz, Felicia?
That's wild. I mean, that might be my radio. I keep it. It stays on a lot of the time.
I don't know. It just sounds like it's echoing into the sewer or something. Let me just pop outside and see what's going on. Okay, Felicia, you're not going to believe this, but I think there's an elevator coming down.
Wait, there's another way down into the well except for the well hole?
Apparently, which begs the question, does it go up and why haven't we been able to go up this elevator?
Yeah, that's unfortunate.
That's a real bummer for us. But
we should pry open these iron-rusted doors.
Yeah.
Oh my god, why is there sawdust pouring out of the elevator?
Oh,
why are all these jars of jam here?
Why are all these bones?
There's people in the elevator?
Hi.
Hello. We're here to tell you about the Freudian symbolism of all of these.
Oh boy! I've been waiting my whole
Taylor
life.
and Jemi from the Final Girl Files? In the elevator in the
Who else could it be?
We've crashed your podcast. We're here to make it weird.
You're here to provide critical analysis while Elaine and I scream.
Yes, perfect. Wow, I always love getting new people in the well. Oh boy, we got the pizza rolls ready too. What a delight. Oh, except this episode is my personal nightmare. This everybody will remember many moons ago.
Episode 9. No, it was earlier than episode 9. It was like episode 5.
Oh my god. Felicia played me a clip of the movie Alice, which is not cute little animated Alice in Wonderland. This is like 1988. Like, it is there's a lot of like stop motion and dolls and stuff, and
stop motion fever dream.
I hate stop motion. Gives me nightmares. As a child, it was a big thing for me, and so I watched the clip and I lost my shit. And then we thought, yeah, let's do that for a whole episode, and let's have me watch the whole movie. Which I'm sad. So that's going to be today's episode, and we thought, let's trauma bond with other people over this movie as well. We're so excited to have Final Girl Files here with us.
This is kind of like our episode of Letting Loose. Like this is after the Wonka trailers come out. This is like our little vacation, except it's a vacation to hell for Elaine specifically. I like this movie, so this is fun for me. But yeah, so welcome to Wonka Watch. This isn't what we normally do here. We normally go through all the aspects of the Wonkaverse to explain the Wonka movie, but that's not what we're doing today. We're doing something specifically from this podcast history as a nice little break, treat, torture.
An homage to our humble beginnings.
Yes. So I'm Felicia.
I'm Elaine.
And today with us we have...
I'm Taylor.
And I'm Jemi. Hi.
And they are here. What a delight.
We so are. God. We really are.
I'm not. I'm trying to
no
leave my body.
No one has ever been more here than us.
Despite many technical difficulties and scheduling conflicts, they are finally here. Because they got bumped by the Wonka
God
trailer.
himself was trying to make this not happen, and we fought against him.
They gave me diarrhea as a last-ditch attempt, but no, we prevail. We will make it through.
In many ways, the Final Girl Files is a podcast about fighting God. So, like, you know...
Yeah,
beautiful.
It is.
They are from the Final Girl Files podcast, and obviously all their links will be in the description. You can check them out. We are also on their podcast talking about the movie Bones and All, and you can go check that out over there, too.
Bone, bonies.
Boner.
All right, so even though we have a guest and we may not be talking about Wonka today, we still have to discuss Wonka Watch News. Wonka Watch News is in a bit of an interesting position due to the SAG-AFTRA strike, because there's not going to be much news, because we're only going to get interviews with like Paul King and maybe some British actors who aren't covered by the union, but I don't know how that works.
I find this ironic. I mean, the strikes, yes. I find it ironic for us that we finally had a big Wonka thing, and yet we still don't have Wonka news. It's so
honestly,
and
I'm
it's
kind of
ironically
happy
hilarious. Yeah,
because I feel like it loses something if we do have news. Like
fair, right?
Because
It'd be
I
like-
found this article and I'm like, this is more fun than anything else we could have reported on. Because I'm like, I get to go and report on my favorite bullshit. And one of the reasons I prevailed through my diarrhea was because I wanted to talk about this article today. And this is an article from GQ called "The Itty Bitty Watch Isn't Going Anywhere."
Is this like Broslip the sequel?
Yeah, it's the sequel to the
Oh
Broslip.
my
And
gosh.
I'm so excited. I've just decided that whenever I don't have Wonka Watch News, I'm just going to look up GQ and type in Timothy Chalamet, because they write about that bitch like every 2 days, and every article is a gift. Again, the title is "The Itty Bitty Watch Isn't Going Anywhere."
God.
Thank God.
Modern masculinity has moved beyond the big money, big watch way of life. The outdated perceived femininity of a smaller watch has in fact been easily embraced by watch wearers of the slimmest degree. And let's face it, the big boys of the watch world, or 41mm behemoths and beyond, just don't look good on every wrist.
Body
Someone got paid to
inclusivity.
write this.
I know. I if you told me this was a fake satire article, I kind of would believe it. And that's how I feel about every
paid
GQ
money.
thing.
Is this a microaggression?
Because, well, it feels odd.
Am I watching someone microaggress Timothy Chalamet?
Well, we'll get to that. They fucking love Timothy Chalamet, GQ. I think
boy,
they have a
oh
poster
boy.
of him in their office. They've got to. They have to have a cardboard cutout of him by the entrance. You know how
Every
like,
time they
fun
have
tech
donuts
companies
in the
do?
morning, he sits at the table with them, that little cardboard cutout, and someone has to feed him the donut.
They cut a hole in the mouth for him.
Yeah, it's a big
They
honor
take
if you get to
people
be
around the
Timothy
company and
Chalamet.
say it's like one of the perks of working there to make them seem relatable, you know? But here's the Timothy Chalamet part. Most recently, Timothy Chalamet was spotted roaming around the streets of New York. Wait, that's the whole sentence?
Loose? They let him off leash? Oh my goodness.
They let him out.
Sentence.
Breaking news, a guy was in a place.
Breaking news, Timothy Chalamet is in New York, the place that he lives, famously. In oversized shorts and a crew neck, the actor's wristwear was, in contrast, outrageously shrunken. Following the first reveal of Chalamet as the titular Willy Wonka in the upcoming Wonka prequel, he's been embracing the role of the unusual chocolatier by opting for just as unusual but no less adored watch, the Panthère de Cartier Mini.
Why does this feel phallic?
Right? I think it's the outrageously shrunken.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's that.
Whoa.
Also,
How
this
big
watch
is
does
your
retail for
watch?
over $3,000. I just want to let you guys know. Just a reminder that Timothy Chalamet is not like the rest of us. I have more quotes from this that aren't about Timothy Chalamet, but I was just
Bless.
fascinated by this article. Measuring a minuscule 25mm by 19mm and with a thickness of just 6mm, it's almost like wearing nothing at all. How can you even see the face to tell the time? But then again, when has wearing a nice watch ever been just about telling the time? Teeny tiny watches in all their petite glory sit so carefree and perfectly on the wrists of men just as they do on women. This was like the romance novel where it's like, I'm just a little girl against this giant guy. I'm so petite and tiny and he's so muscular.
This
I
is
don't like this.
uncomfortable.
With a few extra links on the bracelet to keep it loose, the watch sits right on the carpal bones, sliding up and down the wrist as you move throughout the day, without a care in the world.
Why is this like erotic? Why is this
Right? I was like, what the shit is
Be
this?
reading this.
Oh my
I shouldn't be reading this.
No,
And believe it or not, they got a quote for this article. Nobody needed a quote. From
whom?
Annie Brown, style editor of Vogue Australia. She says,
Wow.
it's so nice to see men, including very famous ones, embracing smaller size watches rather than thinking a honking great beast is the only expression of masculinity and taste. Not that I mind honking great beasts either.
Oh, girl.
I did misread it as breasts
Lepenius.
at first, and I was like, you and me both. And I was like, hold on.
Whoa.
This has the vibes of when like a plus size person posts a selfie and all of the comments are just people being like, yes girl, buck those beauty standards. Like it's like you're complimenting, but you're also like, but also don't forget that you are not
They're like,
within the
Timothy
normative.
Chalamet has skinny little fuck idiot wrists, and he can only wear skinny idiot watches for idiot people. But you know what? It's fine because he's fashionable and he's the face of
He's
Chanel
so
Bleu.
brave.
He's so brave for
So
being a voice for the
brave.
skinny wristed men wearing the Chanel de Cartier Panther 3K watches.
a historically
just like us.
oppressed class.
Yes.
Men who wear tiny watches.
Poor little white man. Aww.
That's
so
it's
hard.
they're expanding to LGBTQIA M, and the M is for men who wear tiny little watches.
Rolexes are the Chads of the world.
The Chad Virgin meme, but it's like big Rolex.
A big
tiny little
honking
watch
piece versus teeny tiny watches. Oh my god. Okay.
Versus the watch she tells you not to worry about.
Yeah.
Oh my god. Okay, this is the last paragraph. Whether it's in search of a jeweled look or the accompanying surge in interest in vintage watch styles that has helped propel this movement, the realization that the world of watches isn't as gendered as originally thought is bringing classier watch moments in all the right places. The neatness of a tiny little face just can't be beat.
Tiny little face.
Tiny little face.
Tiny little face.
My tiny little face. You can hardly tell the time on my face, but when has a watch ever really been about telling time on the face? I'm breaking all the standards, all the gender norms. I'm a little... Hi, it's me. I'm the wrist... I'm the watch... on Timothy Chalamet's wrist. I literally forgot the word for wristwatch. I don't know if you noticed that. I don't know how. That's the entire article, and I lost it. I'm the wrist on Timothy Chalamet. Okay, well,
I'm glad we now
And
know
this
about
is-
Timmy Chalamet's little fairy wrists.
Yeah, and this is why we support the strike, because it allows us to talk about things like this. I mean, I support the
Yes.
strike for many other reasons, but also...
Does he, wear tiny watches?
Does he wear, the Panther de Cartier watch?
This really was a microaggression.
Is his watch size under 22 millimeters?
I'm really glad we
I've
finally
never made that
have
noise in my life.
the cock ring around the neck for the 2023. I'm so glad we have that now. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I have cock ring Ken on the mind because he was in the Barbie movie.
Wait, is Manicuring Ken in the Barbie movie?
He is in the Barbie movie very briefly, but he is
Oh
there.
my gosh, I'll have to look for him. Oh, what a day. Oh, I get to see it on Tuesday. I'm going with my
I do
mother.
have to say, I walked into the Barbie movie yesterday because I went to go see it with my brother and his partner. Literally, the second I walked in, there it is up on the screen, the Wonka trailer. And I was like,
Okay, good,
this is
because
a sign.
this was a prediction I made, because I
Yes.
knew it was going to have to happen, and part of my motivation for seeing Barbie is, I need to see it on the big screen just
the
to
theater,
feel like
yeah.
I've done something.
yeah. But listen, you have a good chance with Wonka because I saw it and my friend who also saw Barbie saw it in another state.
Good.
So
It was so funny.
Good
She
chance.
texted me and she was like, "You're never gonna believe I got the Wonka trailer." I was
everywhere
it's
I
a
go, I see his
secret.
face.
Hey, this is Felicia reporting back. I've seen Barbie now, and no, I didn't get the Wonka trailer. Objectively, it's the funniest thing that could have happened, but also fucking annoying.
All right, so now we have to talk about this actual movie. So,
Do we have to? Because
Yeah.
we're having such a happy, safe, comfortable time right now.
Wonka is the safe space. We need to
For
move
Y'all,
out
it
of
is
our comfort
ominously
zone.
We need to push
storming
boundaries
outside.
Oh, God.
Right now, it's literally ominously storming outside right now. Oh my God.
Okay, I should preface
Okay.
because I'm the reason that this is happening. This is my fault. I am quite a big fan of this movie. It is Alice, the, I believe, 1988 film by Jan Svankmajer. I believe that's how you pronounce it. He's like a renowned stop-motion weirdo filmmaker. I don't know why the fuck I watched this movie, but I watched it when I was like 17, and I fucking loved it. And it was one of those things that, I loved but could not put my finger on why I loved it. Do you know what I mean? Like, if you asked me, hey, Felicia, explain to a crowd of 30 people or Elaine why you like this movie, can't do it. I just like it. I liked it enough that it was in my Letterboxd top 4 up until last week. And that seems like a big reveal that it's been removed. It just didn't have the same oomph for me on the third watch, so it's getting replaced.
With Wonka, I assume.
Hit the curb.
And also, I have a pretentious film student background. I think that's important for us to know.
Handshake
Elaine,
emoji.
yeah, Elaine does not.
Not a fan. Hate stop motion. Hate it.
So yeah, I brought up a single scene of this on the podcast because it reminded me of the squirrel scene in the 2005 Johnny Depp movie, which is a reach, but I stand by it. It did remind me of it, and I had to be authentic about that. And
you're
Elaine
correct.
watched it, and she wanted to kill me, to the point where I genuinely asked if she wanted me to buy her a pizza, because I felt so bad. I felt so bad. But after a year, she came around and was willing to watch it, so here we are today. And Elaine and I watched it together. There's going to be a commentary track up on Buy Me a Coffee when this episode releases if you want to join in to hear Elaine scream and yell. But it was a good time. You know, the whole time was just me being like, I'm enjoying this and loving this movie. And Elaine not feeling that way. So
I felt physically nauseous, by the way. Also, the clip that Felicia had shown me, she goes, "Oh, that was the worst part." No, it wasn't.
It was not. No, I forgot about the mask. I forgot about the mask.
Not the worst
I forgot about the mask scene, and I want to apologize. This is going to be a little bit more of a freeform episode than we normally do, because it's not like so crucial we note down every detail as part of the Wonkaverse knowledge. This is more of an open discussion about the film Alice, I think is more. We'll go roughly chronologically, but it's not as strict as I like to. I'm not going to be as strict as I normally am.
You can't. You can't.
Also, there's no plot here, so it doesn't matter. Really.
Yeah, there is no plot. Like, it follows the basic Alice thing where she falls down the rabbit hole, which is like an elevator thing that we kind of talked about earlier, and then it just goes off the rails. Yeah. There's the rabbit. That's all you need to know. Nothing else makes sense, and it's disgusting.
It does roughly follow the same plot as the book Alice in Wonderland. There are a lot of set pieces that are in the book that are not necessarily in every adaptation, but I am a bit of an Alice in Wonderland head, so I was like, oh, I know that. I know that.
There you go. Ooh. Yeah, how do you guys feel about the movie? So I think we should all just give our basic background and feelings about it before we jump into the details. So
I had seen this movie when I was in college, when I was like 19-ish, I want to say, because I like went back into my letterbox and I was like, oh yeah, I did watch this. Like, I thought I might have just only seen clips, but like I did actually sit down and watch it, and my letterboxd review from back then was just so creepy, so good.
Yeah.
And
wow.
I do stand by that. I forgot. I think I might have trauma blocked a lot of this film.
I blocked a few scenes out. I'm gonna be honest.
Portions of it, and going back, I was like, "Oh yeah, that did happen." Like,
oh yeah, the tongue became a person. Yeah, that was fun. Yeah, like
yeah. My dog didn't like this film. He was
0 out of 10 stars from Jake.
Jake gives this movie no stars. And he was sitting on my lap the entire time, and like at several points he just like looked back at me with this expression on his face as if he was like, "Why are you watching this?"
That was how Elaine looked at me when we recorded, so I understand the feeling, you know. It was good because the first time we watched it, Elaine, we had only known each other for like a month. And there was a moment where she really was like, what the fuck did I get myself into? That, like, I was like, are we going to keep going on the podcast? It was the first time, like, she had really seen that side, like, not that side of me, just, like, I realized that we're not that similar, and there was this line of media that I enjoy that she could not get into.
It was funny because I knew I was, like, shook. I was like, oh my gosh, I didn't realize, like, how intense it had come off, which I guess is true, but, like,
you tried to set your microphone on fire.
Right. Forgot about that. I did fall on the floor too. I did forget about that too. I wasn't prepared, and it worked out, and it made me stronger.
All right, Jemi, before we cut you off, how do you feel about this movie?
I have a place in my heart for 2 other adaptations of Alice in Wonderland, and just like the general story Alice in Wonderland. I love the American McGee video games, and this is going to be controversial, but I do love the 2010 Burton Alice. I know. They are exceptions to the rule for me, because I generally don't like Dark Alice in Wonderland very much, because a lot of Dark Alice in Wonderland tends to be like, oh man, Alice in Wonderland was written on drugs by a pedophile. Ugh. It's like, okay, do you have anything else interesting to say? But that's the thing about this adaptation, McGee Alice, and to a lesser extent Burton Alice, is that they're doing different things and they have respect for the source material.
Yeah.
So I liked this a lot. Yeah. I enjoyed it. I like this a lot. And I also like creepy stop motion. Although I did go into it thinking that it was, like, I thought it was just one of those things that, like, aged into being creepy, you know? That, like, it's like old-time. It's, like, old-time creepy because it's old-timey, and, oh, no. This is just, like, scary. So I do appreciate that.
When we were watching it, I think I figured out why I like it so much, and it's not necessarily because of the plot or, like, really anything about the concept. I think I just more get excited that somebody made this, if that makes sense.
No, yeah, I definitely have movies like that are like, I'm really happy that this exists. Am I gonna just sit down and watch it just because I'm bored and I'm looking for a movie to watch? Maybe not necessarily.
Exactly. That's how I feel about this movie. Like, I can't say, like, oh, it changed my life. I resonate with it so deeply. I'm just like, I'm so glad this weird motherfucker made this movie.
Same.
I do hate parts of it, though. I do hate parts of it.
I will say, I was able to appreciate when Felicia was bringing up, like, there was one scene, I forget what it was, because I've, to be honest, tried to block a lot of this out.
Understandably.
But, like, I can appreciate the art behind it, and I know that stop motion is very hard and very involved, and, like, this was a lot of it, and so, like, to that point,
They were doing
like,
stop motion in the water. That made me nuts.
that's wild. So
Yeah.
I give my roses there. I just hate what happened.
She got won over by the scene with the pig. She liked the scene with the pig.
I
That
loved
was
the pig
fine.
because I was like, it's alive. It's not dead. And it didn't do anything horrible. And that got me through. That I needed that also at that point. I needed that.
Yeah, the one scene where you started to be okay with the whimsy was the scene with the rat in the water where it goes on her head. Like, you didn't like it,
'Cause
but
I
you
got
could
numb.
understand it.
Yeah. Well, I was like, Ratatouille.
This movie's only like an hour and 30 minutes, thank God.
25.
Like, yeah, it's not long, which, like, thank goodness. Basically, the whole movie is you get an opening with Alice. Alice is played by, like, some 8-year-old girl. There is no soundtrack. There is only the noises, like sound effects, and then Alice doing the voiceover for the pets. The pets? They're not pets. Let me for the things.
I found the mouth stuff mildly upsetting because
Yes.
like, every time this child spoke, you could see the spit in her mouth. Like,
Yeah.
Yes.
like between her top and bottom teeth, and every time she spoke, you could visibly see strings of spit in her mouth, and I'm like, there had to be a better way. There had to be a better way.
We see, like, around her room, and basically in her room we see all of the objects that will show up later in the movie, which I think is one of the things that I really like. Like, I think on a second watch it's really fun because you're like, oh, that's the thing from that thing earlier, you know. Like, I don't know, I get that. That's fun for me. But then she hears a creaking noise. I'm just using the Wikipedia description. I did not write my own. I was lazy as hell this week. We're working with it. So there's a creaking noise that draws her attention to a taxidermied white rabbit in a glass case. And the rabbit comes alive. He gets dressed, gets a pair of scissors, and smashes the case. And then he opens a desk drawer that he crawls in. And then Alice follows him, and it gets fucking weird.
I love that well, I don't love, but one of the things I noticed going into this movie, like, within the first few minutes was there's so much imagery of death in Alice's room, and not only, like, the taxidermy animals and the bugs on the wall, but there's, like, dead flies, there's rotten apple cores, and this, like, imagery of death, like, this theme continues on through the whole movie, and that is sort of, I'm doing smart people thoughts, but,
No, it's good because we don't have them, so I'm glad to hear it.
that is what gives me the idea that this is very much a child trying to conceptualize the world around her.
Yeah.
Which is, you know, this movie was made in the Czech Republic in the 80s, so, you know,
Yeah.
things were not great there. I think this is really reinforced by the fact that when we open, when the movie opens, you know, we're in this, like, lush green meadow, there's a little stream and a forest, and she's sitting with her sister, and then we see her in this, like, dismal, dark room. So even from the beginning, I'm like, was that real? Or was she, like, daydreaming?
Yeah.
Like,
And, like, the whole movie takes place in, like, the same 2 rooms over and over again. And it takes a while to, like, actually notice that. Like, you kind of have to pay attention to realize, like, oh, this is the same fucking room. Like, which, great economy of budget. Man, they really made that budget work. Yeah, it's a really fascinating movie. I read one article because I was trying to see, like, has this, like, when we were doing the commentary track that we recorded, I was like, is there anything that I can read to kind of explain to Elaine more? And I couldn't really find anything from, like, the director himself, but there was this one article that was doing this huge Freudian analysis and was like, the sawdust represents menstrual blood. And I was like,
I saw that one too. I saw that one too.
Stop it.
Anything Freudian. Listen, I'm a film student. I've done my fucking time with Sigmund. I'm not going to do any more. Okay?
Yeah.
I am not entertaining this.
I'm like, you can make this movie about the loss of innocence. Don't bring periods into it.
Yeah.
It's too complicated.
She's 8.
Yeah,
she's
I'm like,
8.
no.
She's got a good couple years before we gotta start thinking about that.
Yeah, like, this is not... I'm like, nope. I am very emotionally attached to the White Rabbit in this movie, and I'm gonna be perfectly honest. I love that motherfucker. I know I probably shouldn't. I probably wasn't supposed to be, like, emotionally attached to the White Rabbit, but I was extremely. But I've
when
always
he
felt
shoves
that way
his
watching
face
this movie.
into the camera, and it's... I feel like Elaine might have been upset by that.
Also, if anybody on this call sees me doing really pained expressions, I have it pulled up so I can kind of follow along, and I had to move it to Alice because I moved it to the rabbit, and I felt...
Right.
Yeah.
You're gonna get sick.
I like the rabbit. I think he reminds me of, like, puppets. And I love puppets.
I hate puppets, so...
Yeah, this is our trade-off. Elaine hates stop motion, but except for some stop motion, which she does like, and I love stop motion, except for some motion that I do hate, except the stop motion I hate is Wallace and Gromit, which makes no fucking sense, and I understand that.
Hilarious
I don't know
to
why.
me.
There's a dark energy to those shorts, and they scare me.
I just have always thought Wallace and Gromit that you could, like, bite into them. Like, they looked very biteable.
They do.
I think that's why I don't like it.
Oh.
Yeah.
Like those circus peanuts.
Yeah, I've always thought that they looked kind of like you just want to bite them.
Alice chases the rabbit into, like, there's a lot of the same desk and the same drawer is used over and over again. There's a lot of repeating motifs, which I think is really fun.
It really stressed me. Repetition stressed me out.
Yeah.
I kept waiting for the next horror to happen, and then it would happen. That was the worst part. I was like, I know something bad's about to happen that I'm not gonna like. Bad as in bad for me. Film-wise, probably fine. It was just like, oh, a new room of horror. Like, what else awaits me? Because it's getting worse with each scene. So
Yeah. My Letterboxd review of this movie is film equivalent of nutritional yeast, because there's so much, like, the rabbit basically is stuffed with sawdust, and the sawdust keeps falling out, and he keeps having to put more sawdust back in and, like, sew himself up. He's
horrible.
fine, you know.
That's horrible.
Alice keeps eating things. This girl will lick anything, and I do have beef with that, because I get it. You're a child and you want to explore the world, but girl, stop. Don't lick the mysterious jelly. Just don't do it.
I am looking at a note in my notebook that I have open next to me that literally just says, "Girl, don't eat that," and I don't know which one I was talking about.
Yeah, there's
so
like
many
18
instances.
times it could apply.
That's
She
the,
just-
like, subtitle for this movie. Girl, don't eat that.
The
yeah.
crusty-ass jam on the elevator.
Yeah, so
was
she
like,
takes
what
the
the
elevator
hell?
down, and there's all this random shit, and some of the shit is stuff that shows up later, which I do think is really cool, and I like that. I think it's cool. But there's also just a bunch of fucking jars of jam, and she sticks her fingies in one of them and just licks it.
That's horrible.
So that is actually from the book.
Oh, gosh.
I mean, the book is a little bit more whimsical about it, obviously, because Alice is, like, falling down. Alice is falling down the rabbit hole, and there's all this stuff that's falling down with her. And I think there's, like, a shelf or something of, like, jelly that is normal, or jelly, it's marmalade. It's marmalade.
Love marmalade.
So she
British
takes
people.
one and just tastes it, I guess. Yeah, fucking capitalist right rabbit.
people.
Yeah.
I do appreciate how this movie does take most of the stuff from the book and always takes it a step to the left. Like, I do really
Yeah.
appreciate that, how, like, he was not going with the first draft. This was, like, draft 3 of potential subversions. He was committed to the bit.
It's so important as a director to be able to commit to the bit.
So she gets through a miniature door and she sees the rabbit through it, but then she drinks a bottle labeled "Drink Me," and this is where things started to get real bad for Elaine, because she turns into a small doll.
The doll.
I don't like the
ink.
doll either. I want to be clear
It's
to the
ink.
audience.
She drinks ink is the thing.
Yeah.
It's not even drinkable. Like, listen, the cakes look disgusting, but they are at least edible. You cannot keep drinking ink, girl. You can't.
Yeah. This doll is horrible because it has a neck, but not enough, but enough of a neck to be unsettling. It could owl 360 degrees, turn around that fucking head. The haircut, unsettling as well. I mean, the entire doll. And then obviously stop motion, creepy doll. Like, it
I had a childhood stuffed animal that was colloquially called Long Neck Pooh in my family because it was a Winnie the Pooh stuffed animal that came with an outfit, came with a little turtleneck, but when you take the turtleneck off, he just had a really long neck, and it was spooky because when you put the shirt on, he looked fine. You take it off, and you're like, what the fuck is going on here?
Everybody in turtlenecks?
Maybe.
Could
But
be.
genuinely, my family still calls things long neck poo. If anything has a long neck. My mother has called my cat long neck poo, and I'm like, I
Okay.
think we're going too far at this
This
point.
doll
But-
had long neck poo.
But I was watching this movie and I was like, I can't make a long neck poo reference. No one will know what the fuck I'm talking about. But she was giving me long neck poo.
It was giving long neck poo. It was-
She eats a cookie and gets big again.
Thank God.
But now she can't fit through the door, and then she cries so much the room fills up. And it's very like 5-year-old acting where she just kind of like moves her hands near her eyes.
The crying was really getting to me because it was so like you could tell it was very like director behind the camera, like, no, keep rubbing your eyes, honey, just keep rubbing them, we gotta keep rolling. It's just like,
And then someone just threw
going
like
and
Dasani
going.
water on her face, and she's
Yeah,
like,
And then they
"Cheers,
get the
dumping
fucking
water."
hose! Get the fucking hose! Like,
It's like, okay, honey, just keep pretending to cry, and they're just dumping water on her face.
Hello.
Hannah,
I have a question for you, for all three of you. Did you
Yeah,
watch
okay.
the dub or the one with Czech audio?
there's a dub? I
There's
didn't
an
know there was
English
a dub.
dub. There's
What?
an English dub. It's
I
scary.
watched the one on YouTube. I've only
Yeah,
seen
I also
the-
watched the one on YouTube.
I have never seen
Yeah.
the dub.
I
didn't
watched
know
it. So the
existed.
first
it has
time-
subtitles.
The first time I watched this movie, I watched the English dub, and like now, this time I watched it in Czech with subtitles. There's something that makes it even more upsetting when her mouth is not matching the words that she's saying.
Oh, no,
Because it
that's
also
bad.
barely
That's
matches
bad.
here because the actress who did the voice and the actress who played Alice are different. I looked that up. They're not the same.
Oh, I don't like that.
Yeah,
It's
which
not
is odd.
good.
I was like, ooh, I don't know how I feel about that.
European movies love to have adult women dubbing small children.
Oh, fucking... Can we talk about Suspiria
watched,
real quick?
oh my God,
The original Suspiria. Because
yes,
I watched that and I was like,
yes.
is this always like this? Did I get the wrong copy? And I'm like, no,
It is.
that's just what it's like. Okay.
Does not help that Dario Argento has no conceptualization of how human beings talk to each other.
Yeah, he doesn't know.
And then a rat comes through the water and sets up a little camp on her head. And this is my favorite part of the movie. It's genuinely a screenshot from this. Is the cover of one of my most used playlists on Spotify. And I love rats. I think they're
What
very
is the
cute.
vibe of the playlist that would warrant?
It's all my favorite songs.
Oh,
It's just me. The vibe is me.
I love it. I love it.
Unfortunately, I am the vibe.
Also, kind of from the book ish.
Yeah.
There is a
Kinda.
rat that she like encounters in the water, but it's not. It does not. Unfortunately, it does not cook delicious soups atop her head.
I did enjoy that, like using her hair as like literally setting up a little like fire pit and everything. I was like, okay. I think I just got numb throughout this movie, and I had to find something that brought me joy. Honestly, I think that's why I was okay with the rat, because I was like, I just need something that's not this fucking rabbit with giant eyes and terrifying like teeth, because it's all
The teeth were
taxidermy. I think we
really
should clarify,
scary.
it's all taxidermy. This isn't just
Yeah.
like a cute stuffed bunny.
Yep.
It's
No.
it's
There's
she
a
was
fish
real.
skeleton with an egg in it, inexplicably.
Yeah.
What is with the fish with the egg inside of it? I do love the weird fucking creations this guy made up. Some of them tickled me quite.
Yeah, this
quite.
movie is so giving Welcome to My Twisted Mind.
It's very much Sid from Toy Story, like his toys
Yes.
in the corner. And I like to pretend that everything in this was obtained ethically, and that like he found them all at thrift shops just to make me feel better.
Yeah.
I'm gonna read this beginning paragraph part, like just word for word, so that people understand how insane this is. Once through the door, Alice finds herself at the banks of a brook and encounters the white rabbit, who mistakes her for his maid and commands her to fetch scissors from his house. Inside, she drinks from another ink bottle and returns to her true size, trapping her inside the now too small house. Rabbit and his animal companions try to force her out by launching a skull-headed lizard through the windows. Alice kicks him away, causing him to burst and spill his sawdust innards. The angry animals imprison Alice inside an Alice-shaped doll, which that's the worst fucking part of the movie. They dump her in
Yeah,
a vat
bad,
of
real
fucking
bad.
milk, and she comes out with a cast of herself on it, and like you can see her eyes through. And that was the only moment in this movie where I went, huh! Like I forgot about it and had blocked it out, and even I recoiled. It was fucking disgusting. I hated it.
So before we talk about how horrible that is, which yes it is, I hate it. Also for me, one of the only moments where I was like, oh no, this is bad and I hate this.
Yeah.
What interests me about the lizard thing, the lizard spilling his sawdust everywhere, is that he is brought back almost immediately. Like, he supposedly dies, and the animals just sew him up, fill him back up with sawdust, and he's fine. So, like, death is this, it's a threat and it's scary, but it's not permanent. It's very much like a child's conceptualization of death.
Yeah.
Just to continue my smart people thoughts from the beginning. It's a very childish view of death and how that works.
Yeah, the vibe I was getting from this movie is so very, like, this movie gives me the energy of, like, a nightmare that you have as a kid of all of your toys coming to life and, like, fucking with you. Like, that is... This movie is very nightmarish. And I don't just mean that in the sense of, like, it scared me. I mean, like, the pacing, the way things are moving.
It's meant to be like a dream. Yeah, it's not meant to be... Like, that's why if you're trying to... There's no point in trying to find any logic in the movie, because it doesn't exist. It is... And I think it is one of the most effective at doing that.
Yeah, especially with Alice. I think the way that she acts, like, isn't as horrified as you would imagine a small child in this situation would be. Yeah. Like, she is afraid at some points, and she's, like, kind of perturbed, but she's never, like, screaming, crying, throwing up the way you would think, like, a small child would be.
The way Elaine was.
Yeah. A small child and or Elaine.
No one was there. No one knows. Shh, don't say anything.
But I think that really reminds me of how, like, when you're dreaming, everything seems normal, and you never really... Like, there are dreams where you react strongly to things, but there are also dreams where, like, insane shit happens, scary shit happens, you don't react to it in a dream, and then you wake up and you're like, what the fuck was all of that?
Yeah. It's so interesting. Yeah, I guess because I threw out... I mean, obviously, I was having an interesting time myself, but I did think it was interesting that she wasn't scared of any of it, and if anything, she was fucking fighting back at points, and I think I had my arms up and I was like, what are you doing? You're angering them. Why are you doing that? Hence
She's
the whole,
a scrappy
like,
little kid.
Yeah, and I'm like, I would not, like, I will say,
like, my favorite part of the movie is when the White Rabbit comes out with this cabal of merry men, and it's these, like, fucked up, like, just, like, mishmash skeletons that you would see at, like, a cryptozoology museum in the middle of nowhere, and I love it. But, you know, I think one of the things I like about this movie is it kind of implies that this is coming from her imagination, which is why she's not scared, because this is, like, I mean, like, yeah, it's spooky, but it's also, like, she's coming up with this shit, is how I've always seen it, you know? I don't know. I've just always seen it as her keeping herself entertained because the girl's bored. But
I also really thought that the scene where she was, like, trying to stick her hands in the, like, into the room, and the rabbit was, like, slapping her hands with, like, the wooden, like, spoons or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, that was so funny because, like, after 3 or 4 slaps, I feel like you gotta be like, all right, it's not worth it. We're gonna move out. But she just kept trying.
I'm like, girl, he's valid at this point. Like, the rabbit, honestly, I don't blame the
boundary
rabbit.
And you are crossing it.
Yeah. He's like, bitch, that's my
like,
house.
I wasn't
Stop
rooting for Alice at all during this.
No.
You know, like, I wasn't really rooting for anybody, but, like, to Felicia's point, I do feel like the rabbit was more, like, in the right the entire time. As much as he disgusted me as his entire presence. Nothing personal. So I thought a finger was going to get chopped off in that scene, by the way, because that just felt like what would happen to me. Like, oh no! Why is my
there
finger
is blood
gone?
in the film.
Yeah!
There is blood
It's
in
like
the
one
film.
drop.
Alice breaks free of the Alice cast, which is fucking horrifying. Again, it's
Bad.
like...
Bad.
It's American Girl doll says...
I
the eyes
immediately
trapped.
started
Like,
reflexively apologizing to Elaine because I felt a moment of what she had been feeling the whole film, and I felt so bad.
There's something viscerally awful about that.
I think that's when it took a turn, because I'd, like, kind of not been feeling great. Because, you know, I'm, like, stressed, scared watching this. I'm, like, you know, and then I watched that and I was like, I feel physically ill. I do not feel good.
It made my tummy feel funny, and I
The milk
like
bath
this
was
movie.
horrible. I was like, first off, it's my worst nightmare. These things have captured her. They're winning. Okay, they're
I think you've
dragging her
told a
into a
story
back
about
alley.
a Timothy Chalamet action figure doing this to you on the podcast. Or was that me?
I didn't like it either. I was describing a horrible thing that happened, and now it's which would be almost less horror. See, now there's too many spooky things in my head. I'm scared. Anyway, yeah, I am. That was the worst day of my life. Was that moment? That single scene is the worst thing I've ever seen.
It's very reminiscent of, and Jemi knows this story of one time I decided, my sister was visiting, and I said to her, like, oh, like, you know, we should watch a movie together. And she was like, well, we should,
God.
let's, because Jemi knows. I was like, you know what I've been really into lately is House of a Thousand Corpses. Like, that's like a movie, and my sister likes horror movies. So I thought, I was like, but, so we sit down, and for me, and the person that I am and how I go through life, House of a Thousand Corpses is like a fun movie. For me, this is a fun time. I sit down, I giggle, like, I'm loving this. My sister was deeply afraid and was not enjoying herself. And I just remember looking over at her, and I was grinning and laughing, and she was like, what the fuck are we watching?
That was exactly what happened here, because I was like, oh,
different.
look at the rabbit! He's so fun! He's going on his little adventure! Look at how cool he is! And Elaine was like, I'm gonna fucking kill you.
I have the same experience having my comfort movie be The Conjuring 2, which...
What the fuck, y'all?
To me is a beautiful, sweet romance about...
You really did.
I watched Nightcrawler as a comfort movie.
To me, The Conjuring 2 is a beautiful romance. It's about the romance between Ed Warren and Lorraine Warren. And I forget that it has, like, scary jump scares in it that a lot of people don't like.
Genuinely, one of my top 3 comfort movies is fucking Zodiac. That's a comfort movie for me.
Sometimes it's fun. Sometimes
you know what, Robert
Graysmith's
obsession with the case is something that's kind of comforting to me. I'm like, I get that. I could be like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, me too.
Elaine, what's your comfort movie?
Oh, my comfort movie. It's interesting because horror, not my jam, but really intense, depressing historical events and intense cult documentaries. Like, feed me it. Like, give me the little like poo poo platter. Num 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 num. Love it. But my comfort movie is probably the animated Anastasia movie, the happier version of what
Incredibly
happens
valid.
to the Romanovs.
Incredibly valid.
I mean, my other comfort movie is The Muppets.
I need everyone to know that I brought a seltzer so I could calm my stomach talking about this movie. Like, I specifically have this so I can make sure.
Oh my
It's so
god!
funny because I don't usually get disgusted. And I'm not just. I want to clarify. This is a great piece of art. I can see that and appreciate it. I'm
Elaine
not usually
is sitting here and
repulsed.
willing to talk about it, so it's not like friendship life ending. You know,
We're not holding her
yes.
at gunpoint,
And
as
I
far
agreed
as any
to
of you
it.
know.
Yeah, I agreed to it, and I had actually like thrown out like we should do a commentary track on this at some point. So like the door was
I
opened.
did not suggest this. I would never.
No, I did this, so I did it to myself, but I knew going into it. But I'm not usually like physically repulsed by things except for palmetto bugs. I don't know if y'all have
I thought you were
probably
talking
not.
about a man named Palmetto, and I was like, Jesus Christ.
Palmetto is my arch nemesis. He beat me in
fuck that
putt-putt,
guy.
and I'm gonna break his neck now. They're flying cockroaches that are fucking huge. And that is the only time I feel disgusted. And that was kind of the whole moment I was having during this movie. But after we get past that scene, though, we get the little pig, right? That we do have to deal with the most horrifying frog I've ever seen in my life, which was the second worst.
Fucking frog.
That frog was so disgusting and
The
crusty.
tongue. Hate the tongue. Hate the tongue.
I'm gonna.
Yeah,
oh my
I was
God.
fine with the frog until the tongue. I was like, oh, I
The
like this
tongue
guy.
went
And
on
then the
for
tongue
too
happened,
long.
and I was like, no, fuck off.
I could feel and taste that tongue. You know what I mean?
It
like,
went
it
on
wasn't
for
a
too
tongue.
long.
Yeah.
All we needed was one shot of the tongue doing its thing.
so much
but there was like
repetition
it
in the
went
movie,
on
like-
for like 30 seconds of the tongue, and it was too much. It was
You
too
know,
much.
cults, what they do, they desensitize you by showing you horrifying things so you break down and like things stop affecting you anymore. I kind of reached that point, and then I was like, oh no, here, I'm back to being scared. Okay, we're fine. Oh
Yeah.
no.
We did skip over my favorite scene, which is the caterpillar scene. As much as this movie has been removed from my top 4, the caterpillar scene fills me with a type of joy I don't know how to describe. For some reason, when that little fucking sock crawled out of that drawer and gave himself a teeth and eyes and curled up on that little darning mushroom, I experienced a joy like no other the first time I watched this movie. And all the holes in the floor and the sacks go around like little creatures. I love it. And I will defend that scene till the day I die. I think it is so
He's
fucking
delightful.
fun. It's so cool. And Elaine looks more pained than I've ever seen her. She looks like the Thinker statue.
Like for me, it was refreshing in the sense that it wasn't taxidermy. And it was kind of cool. But again, it's all what this movie does is because it doesn't have any like soundtrack and there's very minimal talking aside from when Alice will, do her little thing telling the story in her head, you have to pay attention to everything you're seeing. Like you're really focused in, which was a lot. And the little sounds they're making, I was like, I don't know if I like it. And I was kind of into it until the sock put on eyes and teeth. And I was like, I am not into this. And it sewed it on itself, which I was like, what VeggieTale arms do you have to be able to do this? I don't like this. So it was okay. It was okay.
So would you say it was like a Bob the Tomato-esque experience?
Yes, exactly. Thank you. That's what it was.
It was giving paw grape. I don't know.
Larry the cucumber, she ate.
Caterpillar gives her pieces of mushroom so that she can grow and shrink at will. She doesn't really use it.
It looked like wood. It was just wood, right?
Was.
Like she was
wood.
on wood.
She put up a good fight, though. So Alice follows the sound of a crying baby to a tiny dollhouse, which she enlarges by eating the piece of the mushroom. Oh yeah, the mushroom also can grow things around her. So there's one room where she eats stuff and trees start growing and like falling and shrinking. That scene's cool.
Yes.
Because how the fuck did they do that? I mean, I'm sure there's ways, but it was very impressive. The crying baby scene, which eventually turns into the pig scene, this is probably my personal least favorite scene of the movie because I hate the sound of crying babies. Like, I've had to turn movies off if babies cry too much in them. It just makes me want to rip my hair out. She finds the rabbit inside tending to a piglet in baby clothes. There's also a frog in like an 18th century wig, which I think is fun.
It was. I think the outfits were silly. I'll say the outfits were silly.
You liked the frog until the tongue happened.
Yeah, I was kind of okay because I was clinging to things, and like on this podcast, Fickle Grubber is a frog that we've made up, and I was like, a frog, yay! And then
one of his brethren.
Yet again, something I liked turned into a horrible nightmare. Everything. Horrible nightmare, except for the pig.
She goes downstairs, and this is the mechanical tea party scene, which is what Elaine's first introduction to this movie was.
Mamunista!
Mamunista! Mamunista!
Hello! God. Pane!
Pane!
I don't like how good you guys are at that.
Hello! Pane!
Mamunista! That scene goes on for way too long. I stand by the horrifying thing of this thing goes up to her and puts butter on her sock. And I'm like, that's horrifying because what are the intentions? Why did you do that? You
He needed to clean his hands. He had butter to butter the watch, and he needed to clean his hands, and he disrespects her.
Why
he
did he
doesn't
need to
like
butter
her.
his watch?
To bring the smart people thoughts into it again.
Yes.
This movie, this scene in particular felt very much like a child's conceptualization of like the weird rituals of adulthood. You know, like when you're a kid and you don't really understand why grown-ups do the things that they do and why they all behave in like certain ways and that sort of thing. It felt very much like that. And I think that carries over from the book too, although it's like 100% worse here.
Yeah. That's a very good point because that does make sense when it's like, you're not allowed to leave, bitch! It's like, okay, Jesus Christ!
And it would feel
calm
long
down.
and repetitive. That's such a good point.
That is what
and
family dinners
we all know
feel
that
like.
favorite part of tea when a mink emerges from a pot and slithers on the table and slurps up the tea from a cup and then slithers back to its pot, and that's just it.
I mean, that's a dog asking for food on the floor. It's not.
Yeah.
I did love that wretched beast.
I do love that guy.
Second time watch, I was like, okay, he's not as bad. I've seen this.
I think
okay.
when you're
Dormouse is a kind
contextualized by
Martin.
the Alice mask, you're like, this is fine. I'm fine with this.
Yes.
The first time I watched this movie, this was my least favorite scene. Once I was prepared for how long it goes on, then it's fine. Like
The
once
tea
I know,
dribbling out of the mouths is really fucking
Oh,
weird.
it's
Yeah,
so
because
bad.
there's like a wooden marionette. There's the fucking rabbit, the March Hare, which looks like a Five Nights at Freddy's character.
I will say also the hair on wheels. I'm looking American McGee directly in the eyes because he had his March hair like moving around on wheels at some point. And no, actually, no, sorry, that was the Dormouse. My bad. Looking him in the eye, I know what you are.
Answer for your crimes.
Sorry, I freeze framed on the hair, and that was not a good choice. I need to go back to an Alice scene.
Honestly, if I had to have a stuffed animal of something in this movie, I'd take the hair. I think he's adorable. I'm numb to the hair. He seems like a Muppet to me. He seems like a cousin of a Muppet. I don't know. I love a beast.
Taylor, if you could have a stuffed animal from this, what would you have?
The caterpillar. I like him.
Elaine? You don't need to answer that.
Elaine
you
would
could
have the pig.
I would take the pig, and I would nurture it, and we would run from this hellscape.
Actually, I want the white rabbit. I'm sorry. I know I said I wanted the March hare, but I want the white rabbit. I'm more emotionally attached to the white rabbit, and the March hare, well, I just feel like I don't know him as well. And
you don't have enough of a connection.
Yeah, maybe.
That's perfect.
You
I'd grab
grow
that
up with
pig.
him.
I'd sacrifice Alice to them. I don't care what happens to that bitch, and I'm outie. I am fucking outie.
I didn't know you drive an Audi. So the rabbit flees to the attic, and Alice follows. And then there's this scene where she, like, runs through, 18 rows of curtains, and Elaine was like, there's gonna be a fucking jump scare. And I knew there wasn't, but I didn't want to say there wasn't, because I was like, what if I'm
so
wrong?
stressed.
And Elaine kills me and never talks to me again. I was like... Okay, so Elaine, not Elaine, Jesus Christ, not Elaine. Alice reaches the painted garden, and there she sees the king and queen of hearts with the troop of playing cards. And Elaine liked the playing card troop. I think the playing cards are cool. The playing cards are really fun.
They are fun.
That was really cool. I liked that. Because I wasn't unsettled by their movement, because they're paper, and to me, my head was like, I can make sense of this, paper dolls and stuff too.
Yeah.
Very cool. The cutouts were so cool. Like, they leave their card.
There was a problem where I was like, oh yeah, Elaine, don't worry, no one really gets hurt in this movie. And then, literally a minute later, the rabbit cut off the heads of the jacks. And I was like, well, okay, I forgot about that, but does it really count?
Which then made me question, I'm like, I don't trust you because I think something horrible is going to happen. And I was like, is he going to be gnawing the scissors at Alice's neck, and I'm just gonna have to watch sawdust pop out of her neck or something? Luckily that didn't happen, but I really was anticipating it, because I assumed the worst at this point. I had no
Naturally.
I did not think anything would be chill after
Nothing will ever be good or happy again.
No, I was like, oh, this is it. This is the end.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Elaine's like, I might die tonight, and I'm at peace with that.
I've accepted my fate.
I remember she was like, I'll update you on any nightmares I have. And then you didn't have any. So, it wasn't really
but
that bad.
I had a nightmare. I was stressed because I had to book all these Airbnbs for drag queens. And I genuinely was anxious the next morning. I was like, this is so stupid, because what a delightful, weird dream to have. But I was in the Outlook calendar, which we use that at work. Weird stress dream that genuinely led to an anxious day. I don't know. But no, Alice,
Outlook is a fucking garbage app, and I hate it. I just want to get that off my chest.
Don't even
And
get me started.
My internship this fall, I'm pretty sure uses Outlook, and I'm not happy about it. I gotta, and I know I'll be fine. I know I can learn Microsoft Teams. I'll do it to make money.
Hey, if
but
I
I'm
got
not
through
happy
this,
about
you
it.
can get through Outlook.
Yeah. The queen invites Alice to play croquet, but Alice storms off when the mallets and balls turn into chickens and hedgehogs. In the courtroom, she is put on trial for eating the queen's tarts, and the chicken and hedgehog scene is kind of fun. I was like, oh my god, real live animals?
Wow, I totally blocked
Also,
that out.
hedgehogs are adorable. They were
They're
so cute.
in
They're cute.
this.
Yeah, the I was also excited by the hedgehog. I was like, another real animal. Okay.
A bright spot in the darkness.
Yeah, my 3 favorite things. I also liked the flamingo club.
Chicken.
Totally blocked out the chicken. I guess I fucking hated the chicken.
Yeah. So Queen invites Alice to play croquet, but Alice storms off. She's put on trial for eating the queen's tarts. Alice tries to explain herself, but the king commands her to follow a script. Annoyed, Alice starts eating the tart, and the queen demands Alice's head. Alice asks, which one? And her head morphs into the head of all the other characters, which I forgot about this, but it also kind of implies that this is just all her doing. She's just making this shit up.
Alice, she's like a mad god. She's like... She has complete
It is-
domain over this world.
That is also a very American McGee vibe, because at the end of the first game, I don't know, I know Taylor is, because of me, familiar with American McGee's Alice, but the final boss, the Queen of Hearts, part of her design is that her head, her mouth opens, and there's a few different characters, and there's Alice's head, which implies that she's at the center of all this, and that's what I thought of when I saw that.
Yeah.
So again, American McGee, I'm looking you in the eye. I know you've seen this movie, sir.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's a cool ending, but the ending happens so fast. It's and the movie's over. Bye, guys. Get out the theater. Get the fuck out. And it's okay, hello.
Yeah. Thank God.
Do you know what I just realized about this movie?
What?
there's a very prominent Alice in Wonderland figure that is not there. There is no Cheshire Cat in this movie.
There is no Cheshire Cat.
Yeah.
I didn't even really realize that, but yeah.
I didn't either, but I was thinking about American McGee's Alice, and I was like, because like the Cheshire Cat is very like a super important character in that, and I just realized like, oh, there's no Cheshire Cat in this. I thought he was going to show up because the whole thing with the pig, right, is from the book. Pig is originally a baby being taken care of by another character, the Duchess. When she gives Alice the baby for nonsensical Wonderland reasons, Alice like takes it outside and like tries to calm it down and just turns into a pig and runs away because that's just the thing that happens in Wonderland. Mm-hmm. And she also meets the Cheshire Cat there. So I thought he was going to show up there, but he was not. And I almost kind of want to know what that nightmarish little kitty cat would have looked like.
Rangy taxidermy cat, giant eyes, mouth open, weird petting of the face with claws.
Probably would have looked like the American McGee's Alice Cheshire Cat.
Yeah, probably. I'm like remembering what that Cheshire Cat looked like. Yeah,
I'm gonna
probably
give it a
something
Google.
similar to that.
Oh, Wolfie! Wolf!
Oh,
Wolf, Elaine, you're not gonna
He's
like
kind of a
this one.
friend.
oh, I'm
kind
not.
of a
I don't mind him, but Elaine's not gonna like this one.
Yeah, just like this,
Yeah,
but
you're
it's
probably-
made of a taxidermied cat.
I think there'd be a little bit more, body part combining, a little bit less consistent of an animal. Yeah, he's spooky. I think there's part of me that's kind of glad it didn't do the Cheshire Cat because I think it's the thing that really makes it like stand alone from some of the other adaptations. Do you know what I mean? Because the Cheshire Cat is such like a guiding force. And I feel like this movie not having that is kind of good for it.
It's also kind of cliche, because it's like the first thing I feel like a lot of people think of when they think Alice in Wonderland.
Here, it's Alice McGee Cheshire. Oh,
Yeah.
no. Okay, well, that's
It's giving long neck poo.
It's like if what are those straws? You know those straws that when you like you can like pull them out, like they contract, right? And they
It's
pop
like
out.
those
And
kids' juice cups that the
head away.
this Cheshire Cat gives back alley tattoos. You know what I mean? The teeth,
Yeah.
not necessary. It's just missing half of it. Like I have no further comment. Xing out. Okay, we're good.
Yeah. The queen demands all of Alice's heads are severed, and the rabbit starts to advance with the scissors. And it's like, oh no, but Alice wakes up in her room, and around are all the various household objects that populated her dream. The case that was formerly contained the taxidermy rabbit, though, is still broken and empty, and upon opening the hidden drawer in the case, she finds the white rabbit's scissors. Examining the scissors, Alice says to herself, he's late as usual. I think I'll cut off his head.
Yeah, she's a monster.
Yeah, I mean, she's not a good person.
No.
This
I
8-year-old
liked-
just sucks.
No.
I liked the open-ended. I was like, oh yeah, and then she says that shit, and I'm like, hey, nope. I tried, and then I was like, you lost me. I don't want to I thought I was gonna have to watch her like.
Cut his head off, yeah.
It's good it ends there. And it does, like, I think it does give more credence to the fact that, like, she is also the Queen of Hearts, and she is everyone at once. I mean, like, that's the whole thing of this. It's really just, like, she is the girl who would make her My Little Ponies into a dystopian society. And that's
for sure.
Pops the head off
Absolutely.
Barbie dolls kind of vibe.
Yeah.
This movie is very much, like, from the sick and twisted mind of this random 8-year-old. And I think
Yeah.
that's fun. Like, I feel like this is all Alice's own doing. And when you think of it that way, the movie is a lot less scary. Does that make sense?
It's weird little girl representation.
Yeah.
I was a weird kid, so this was comforting for me, you know?
Yeah, weird little girls are the backbone of the world, like the society.
The backbone of
it's
the gay
true.
community.
Yes.
Yes.
I feel like this child is gonna grow up to be like the coolest art school lesbian who
Oh, for sure.
makes
Yeah.
the strangest, most fucked up art pieces. And like
Yeah.
everyone around her is like, hey, you didn't
Is this
need
a
to.
bit? Is this a
Are
bit?
you
Like,
good?
are you self-aware? Do you know this is insane?
And she's like, this is based on a dream I had when I was 8. And everyone's
Everybody
like,
fucking
okay,
hates
Alice.
her. She takes
like,
2
whoa,
hours in
girl.
critique. She uses the word form in every 8th sentence.
Yeah, all her classmates think she's insufferable.
So yeah, that's Alice. That's most of this movie. Does anyone else have any final things they need to get off their chest before we move on to our nightmare predictions?
I just think that the choice to have her in a pink dress instead of a blue dress was interesting because the
Yeah.
original illustrations she's wearing a blue dress, and most adaptations keep that, and this one didn't.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that was to distinguish it visually from the Disney version. Like, even though it is from the original book, it is something that people tend to associate with the Disney one.
I wonder
don't
if
know.
the blue would have, like, stood out too much in the environment.
Maybe.
I mean,
It's
the
very
pink
warm.
sort of
So
does,
true.
but it's a
Is that
very...
muted. I hated this movie. Full on hated it. And you know what? I'm not usually one. I feel like I have a lot of caveats. I already said artistically great. Hated it. I'm going to try to delete it from my brain. Never think about it again. I hated the way that everything moved. I hated that there was no talking. I had to be present. I hate that I was present. I hated that scrolling back through, I realized I had forgotten things. And then it all came back. The socks, forgot about that. Boom. We're back. Gonna have to not look at my socks for a while. And overall, I felt disgust. Well, yeah. No, I'm okay. I kind of felt sick talking about it, to be honest. I'm glad you guys got to come on. Honestly, I was like, the more people on talking about this, I feel safer. So thank you for letting me be able to laugh about it. And honestly, having the smart thoughts to it it helped remove me from it as a story. And I was like, yeah, that's
It was good. Yes.
So yeah, that was very helpful and healing for me. No, I'm glad that Felicia, we found your people. We found people who can provide you what I cannot provide, and I'm so happy.
Yeah.
And honestly, I'm glad that we did this. It was a great time, and
This was an
now it's
exorcism.
done.
Yeah.
It was.
Yeah, and now I'm like,
You
no.
never have to do it again.
I never have to do it again, and I never have to ever watch stop motion ever again. That was it. I have a free will. I have choice. You know what?
Like, when did you watch it? Like, how quick? Like, you forgot that relatively quickly, I imagine.
did.
Like, and you'll probably forget it again.
It's kind of like ninth grade. I just
Except if in the future they make a stop motion Wonka movie, and then it's all going to be over.
Taylor,
for
get
you.
the fuck out of here! Don't you even put that
Taylor,
out
why
here.
would you
Alright, bye,
manifest
everybody.
What the
that?
hell, Taylor?
Thank
Why
you,
would you
Taylor. I
manifest
love
that?
Taylor.
hearing the advocacy I want.
No. I quit the podcast. I'm like, no, you know what? Y'all can come on, and I'll take a week off. Dad'll go barbecue or something. And you'll
Literally.
From Aardman Studios, Willy Wonka.
Then I'm going fishing. I'm leaving.
Then
I
it's
don't
our
like their
podcast.
eyes. I don't like their faces.
Felicia, can you imagine that's the one they're like, do you guys want to do some voice acting for this movie?
I was literally thinking.
And I have to sit there and go, to be part of the thing that causes me so much terror. Do you like what a choice to I am I can't sit still right now thinking what do you do?
I
Okay.
just brought something very cursed into your life, and I'm very sorry about that.
Well, I think it's time for us to move on to our predictions about Wonka.
Yes.
I have not thought about this, and I'm going to need to think. And it sounded like you guys had some pre-prepared. So do you guys want to deliver your
We
predictions?
Yes.
I thought of this a few days ago.
Yes. So mine kind of builds off of hers.
Okay.
So-
yes.
Mine, I came up with this, and I was like, I'm genuinely shocked that this hasn't come up as a possibility. I think Noodle is Mrs. Bucket.
Whoa.
I think Noodle is Mrs. Bucket.
Whoa.
I think...
Whoa. That is a big pull.
Whoa.
I think at the end of the film, because this feels like I'm thinking of something like Oz the Great and Powerful, right? Have you guys seen that movie? Where at the beginning of the movie, he has this random girlfriend, right? And in like at the end of the scene that she's in, where she's like, "You're too much of a con man for me. I'm gonna go marry a man named John Gale," and then she leaves, and you're like, "Oh, she's Aunt M." I think they're gonna do that with Noodle, where she's gonna be
okay.
like, "Willie, this is my boyfriend, John Bucket," and it's gonna be like, oh.
John Bucket.
No, whatever. They make up his first name.
I mean,
they're
that
gonna
would
be like,
have
"He
a
works
thought.
in a toothpaste factory. This is my
He's
boyfriend."
10 years old, and he works in a toothpaste factory. Okay, I can get down with it, but that would have so much fucking fallout, because that would mean so many things about, one, how Wonka is choosing people for the factory. It's so
know.
rigged at that point. Like, I believe at least
he
one
would
of the
fucking
kids'
let her, like,
parents are in this.
Be
think that-
impoverished and do nothing.
I genuinely think, like, too, like, it's so, like, oh, like, then later on, he's like, Charlie, like, this is the kid.
wait, then he would be like fucking 70 when he's opening the factory.
No,
Which, fair.
I'm not
fair.
saying
Wonka
that
has a bunch of
filmmakers-
anti-aging powers, so like
I'm
it's
not saying
fine.
that the filmmakers have thought this through. right?
I like this. I like this.
If it does happen, it's not a smart
happens-
decision.
If this happens,
But-
I'm gonna be so mad. I'm gonna be pissed if this is part of the plot.
This is what I think.
And
This
that's
is
not
what I
a
think.
judgment to you. That's a judgment on the film industry. Because I'm a firm believer that I think Augustus's dad is in this movie, and I think he's Tom Davis. He was wearing lederhosen. They can't just put somebody in lederhosen and expect me to be quiet about it. But or maybe
they
he's
can't.
related to the Gloop clan. But I don't know. There's so much about this movie. I still haven't come up with a prediction, but that is a fantastic prediction. It's really made me think.
I'm throwing my hat in the ring. I think Noodles misses Bucket, and I think it's gonna be. I think there are gonna be think pieces about it too.
Taylor, you're stealing mine.
That's. Oh, I didn't realize that was yours. I thought you had the other
You're
thing.
stealing mine.
I thought you had the other
we
thing.
said we planned this.
Oh, I thought you
No,
were
'cause
doing
the other
the other
was
thing.
gonna-
Never mind.
No, the other thing was going to be, I thought that, like, because I thought we had, like, tabled that because you guys already had the prediction about Augustus's dad. I thought that, like, the rest of the parents of the kids were going to be in it. But yeah, my prediction was that there were going to be a lot of think pieces about how Wonka's gone woke now because having Noodle as his mother implies that he'd be black, which... I don't know. Have you guys discussed the whole Charlie Bucket is black controversy on here? or no?
Honestly, I haven't too much, mostly because, like, I'm aware of it, but also Roald Dahl was kind of a racist piece of shit, and that's never come from Roald Dahl himself. It's always been, like, his relatives being like, but he wanted to make... And I'm like, okay, I get it, but I don't trust he would have done great with the source material.
Hey,
And reading
are you aware?
some of-
Hey, are you aware that they have the draft of? Apparently, this is an article I was reading like a few hours ago. They have the draft where Charlie Bucket is a black boy, and in the draft, he apparently is placed within a shell of chocolate.
Wait, that was the same one? I was wondering if it was the same one, and that I was like, oh no.
Yes. Yeah, and I was reading, I'm like,
no.
they were like, oh wow, this has such implications about. I'm like, okay, but it seems charged.
Yeah.
I think Roald Dahl was just racist.
Yeah, no, he's a shithead.
Yeah.
I was reading an article diving into more how he's a shithead this week, and I'm like, I knew all this stuff, but God, he sucks.
Wasn't he also like incredibly anti-Semitic too?
Yeah,
like,
he was
just the whole
anti-Semitic.
thing.
I also learned he was mean to everyone that worked for him.
Nice.
Which, like, shouldn't be
Fuck him.
surprising. I just want to say, I just need to share this with you guys because I was trying to send this to Elaine, but I couldn't, my brain couldn't work to send her an email with this fucking article in it. I had to read an article today from my Daily Wonka Digest that was, can I find this fucking article? Because it is one of the worst things I've had the displeasure
My Daily
of reading.
Wonka Digest is the funniest combination
I
of
get
words
it so
and English
casually.
language.
It was this horribly written article on Barstool Sports called Willy Wonka's Grandpa Joe was a cunnilingus master, and that's a stone cold fact. And I had to read this article, and it was citing this one clip in the movie where he licked the snozzberry wall and apparently had good technique. And I was like, I don't think that's good technique. I mean,
Well,
I've
they've never read Elaine's fan fiction.
But this
two?
article is fucking insane because it's all like speculating about the intersexual lives of the grandparents' family, but then also like calls Slugworth Sludgeworth, and then ends with he could run a marathon on Georgina's innards without a second thought. He could scooch Joe and Josephina to the side. He is Joe! What the fuck are you talking about?
That's the name of his dick.
And you gotta know, I bet that's exactly what he did too. And not just to Georgina, I bet Joe and Josephina got a ride on the Tongue Tornado too. Incredible. What the fuck are you talking about? I'm sorry, I just needed to get this off my chest
This is
because
what
I've
happens
thought
when
about
the
this.
actors go on strike. No one else has anything to write about.
I have it on good authority that Grandpa Joe didn't like oral when he was younger. What the fuck are you talking about? What? Sure, he laid to get a blowjob from time to time, but he wasn't licking. Just wasn't his thing. That's okay, right? Plenty of people don't like nature's honey. Nothing wrong with that. Lots of people don't like canned pasta anymore. What are you talking about?
I have to go lie down.
I am back to being unwell.
I am so sorry that I stepped on your thing because I fully thought that you were going to do the other parents are going to be in it. I thought that was going to be...
Taylor, I don't care anymore. After hearing all of that, I have other things to occupy my mind.
This is the least of your problems.
I think
is
there
the
are
least of
going to
my
be
worries
big
right now.
pieces about Willy Wonka gone woke because he is nice to
Yes.
people and doesn't hate
But if
everyone in
Noodle is-
existence,
if
and
Noodle
there are
is Mrs. Bucket, I think-
non-white people in it. So there's gonna be think pieces. There are non-white people and women in this movie, which means there will be think pieces.
God
the
forbid,
bar is
right?
so low. I think for my theory, I think he's gonna wear a little watch. I think he's gonna wear a little watch. And I'm gonna expand it. I think somebody's gonna wear a watch that is arguably, like, disgustingly petite. like a dirty, disgusting, tiny watch. So gross. Ew, it's so small. I think that's gonna happen.
I love that.
I don't like what burst of energy I got doing that.
That was such a different
Grandpa
thing
Joe
that I've ever seen
cunniling
you
this
do.
article really kicked you into high gear.
Well, that's horrible. It's funny, Felicia, because I had written down right after that article, I had said Timmy Wonka will wear a wristwatch at the premiere. Oh, Timmy Wonka. Sorry, Timothy Chalamet, the real person, would wear it. But I actually had another prediction.
And the premiere might not even happen, so our premiere
exactly.
gotta be careful with that.
There's not much going on there. No,
Which,
but
honestly, I would love it if the strikes continue to the point that the premiere doesn't happen, because that means we can't be snubbed.
Exactly.
Because it didn't happen. That's actually my
very true.
Totally would
perfect
have
option.
picked us. But my other main prediction actually was of the Chocolate Cartel. I believe that Prod Nose's whole thing is that he's just going to be the, oh, yes, of course. And they're going to be like, do you actually know what that means? He's like, no. Like, he's just very much a yes man, but he's kind of like more the derpy one. I don't see him being the brains necessarily. I think he's just kind of there. Yeah, that's my prequel prediction.
Thank you, everybody, for listening to this episode of Wonka Watch. It's been an absolute delight having Taylor and Jemi here from the Final Girl Files. You can find all their links in the description. And we will also be on their podcast talking about Bones and All, which should be a great time. More discussions in Timothy Chalamet. I mean, I talked about it a little bit on here, and I have opinions, so we're all excited to dive into it when it won't just be me yelling at you all about my bold opinions. There will be a discussion had, which is great. Yeah, you can find them at all the stuff in the things. Is there anything else you guys want to plug?
We have Twitter and Instagram and kind of a TikTok, but not really.
I'm working on it.
You can follow us on Instagram and TikTok at Wonka Watch. And if you want to support all these silly goofs and gaffs, such as listening, or if you want to have extra bonus goodies like listening to the commentary track of Alice, you can go to buymeacoffee.com/Wonka Watch. And you also get a little improvised shout out song,
which we will insert in now. Hello, this is Elaine and Felicia back again to bring you the Buy Me a Coffee songs for this week. We had some, well, for the last 2 weeks, because we had to put it off because of the trailer. So thank you so much to everybody who has supported us, obviously. But today we're calling out specifically 2 new members, Andra, and then the other person who joined is Emily Fisher, who wrote one of the best messages, "It is me, the Wonka virus victim." Which, for reference, Emily Fisher is the one who spontaneously thought they needed Tinkerman representation on their water bottle.
Yes.
So, which we have called out as one of our favorite emails received. They said, "I'm still lost in the well and I can hear Christian Wonka laughing in the distance. The trailers came out and I decided I have to fund this podcast or suffer the consequences. Anyway, thanks for all the laughs and being my favorite podcast. And thank you so much for your support despite your horrible affliction."
Shuckleberry pie, Andrew and Emily Fisher. Thank you.
And then also Drew Robinette is back with more chocolate bars.
Hey, Drew.
and he has a theory to share. He says, "Okay, chocolatiers, hear me out. What if Willy Wonka is actually Comte Saint-Germain?" I should have looked up how to say that. Whoopsies. Or / Nicholas Flamel. In the book, he says, "I'm much older than you think. Is the everlasting gobstopper equipped for the Philosopher's Stone? Do the 5 children represent the various courts and rulers he was esteemed with over the centuries, and Charlie Bucket represents us? No, but it would make a cool fan fiction." And I agree. It would make a cool fan fiction. I think that's very fun.
Follow the exact structure of our episodes of, but this could. And you're like, yeah. And you're like, but no, it wouldn't. But fuck it.
But none of this matters. But
ooh, delicious crumbs.
This did make me do some Googling about Nicholas Flamel and look a little bit in the history. It was very interesting. So thank you for the recommendation.
Ooh, yes.
But Elaine, this song that you're going to do this week is called Devil's Organ.
The Devil's Organ.
This is a great fit for this episode too.
I recorded, Felicia asked me if I wanted a preview, and I said no. A lagoon by the well. The fish that live there are all named Emily, and there there is the evil hag of the village, Andra, and the Emilys. They gather to take over the world. The lagoon, it shines so brightly in the moon. Andra and Emily and Andra. They're going to find you in the night. You'll be sleeping, feel a fright. Look down at the bedpost. You'll see them. Peace toast. You better run away. Your window is open. They crawl in the night. Yes, they're here. It is spoken. Andra and Emily.
Jesus Christ. Okay, Elaine, I want you to know that the entire time that happened, you were like 5 by 5 pixels on my screen. It was so distorted in a way that was genuinely unsettling. Also, if you put that out on Spotify, you'd get like an absurdly high rating on Rate Your Music. They love that shit.
I feel like we're slowly building more lore in this world of the well. Like, what exists beyond the Wonka well?
It
like,
seems
not
to be
even a Wonka world. It's just
there's like
wells.
armies based on names.
Yeah, like the Alice Army,
Bridget Brigade,
and now we have the Emilys, and
yeah,
and Andra is their leader.
Yeah,
Andra. I lost track of the pronunciations. I do apologize. The spirit took me. But thank you guys so much. It's always fun to get to sing little songs. Appreciate it.
And, thanks for all the support. Bye!
Yes, if you want a little song, go to buymeacoffee.com/WonkaWatch.
Ooh.
Hugs and kisses. What? No.
You can also send us an email at wonkaraptor@gmail.com. But at the end of the day, this episode wasn't even fucking about Wonka. And I'm going to be honest, I feel like the most important part of this was the wristwatch discussion. That felt important to me.
Yes. Yeah.
But as
I
a
didn't
whole-
know where to put this. I am 1 degree away from kind of like a community theater adaptation of Wonka. My brothers played... just to lead into this, one of my brothers is trans, so this was before he transitioned, but they played Augustus and Mrs. Gloop.
Wait, both?
Wow.
No,
Yes.
her one brother played.
Okay.
Augustus.
How did you do that?
Another brother played
Do you
Mrs.
turn
Gloop.
around and
playing
the
two
mask is on
roles.
the back of your head and just doing this? You turn back around.
I
It's
think
Mommy.
either one of my brothers would have a great deal of fun doing that, but it was 2 separate brothers both
Wow.
playing Augustus and Mrs. Gloop. The community theater production that I saw that my brothers were in had never had a full run through of the show when opening night happened, so that's fun. But it was actually good. It was. I remember it being good. Like, they had some cool stuff as part of the set. Like, they had the big pink boat that they would carry around. It was very fun.
Oh, cool.
That's good.
It
Well,
was very whimsical.
but at the end of the day,
It's
with
not
all of
important.
this combined, it's not that important.
This was so horrifically not important.
But now
To the
you're
point
free,
that
Elaine.
I will never probably
is
listen to this
important is
episode. It will
Elaine's
never have
healing.
existed. I'm healing, and that is kind of important, but kind of not, because why the hell is this a problem in my life? This is stupid. It's not that important.
Alice trauma.
Alice
All right.
trauma.
We're
Bye,
trauma bonded.
guys. Bye.
Bye, everybody.